What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 73 of the Overview. I'm ChanManV, and joining me today is my co-host Fishstix. What's up, buddy?
What's up, everybody? I am joining you from a brand new studio. Instead of being in a locker or closet or whatever the hell I was in before, I've actually got a legit mic, got
Listen
lighting,
to that
got
mic.
a nice camera.
It's so
Hopefully, I sound wonderful to you guys now. I'm expecting Craigasms in chat. But also, it's making me think I need a shave before the show because my face in way too much detail now.
Oh, the HD, right? There's nothing like HD to actually pick up on all your little dots and everything on your face. Gotta love it. But we are welcoming back our guest again, Mr. Jake. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, doing well. It's great to be back.
Awesome. I can see you're still in a house with some other friends in the background playing games.
Yeah, this is the Luminosity Gaming CS team is here.
Yeah. Okay, awesome, man. Well, ZP's not here today. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, but hopefully he'll be back next week. But we've got tons to talk about, like usual. Never have to worry about the agenda for this show because it is amazing. It's so hard to even fit in just all the stuff that's going on in the hour and a half that we do. But lots of game changes or game announcements. We had a new animated short at Gamescom. End of the season, obviously. We had PTR updates, but now we actually have a patch release that we just saw today. So we'll talk about both of those. Jake here, going to catch up with Jake. He's lots of news going on with him team-wise and maybe tryouts and things like that. So he'll give us the lowdown on that. Player teams, lots of stuff going on there involving Contenders and Overwatch League and all that good stuff. We'll definitely touch on everything. The World Cup brackets are drawn. We get a chance to talk about that. Obviously, Jake being on the U.S. team too. And then Contender Season 1, got a topic of the week involving the reporting system. And then lastly, we've got some Q&A from a few viewers and fans out there. If you do have any questions, go ahead and send those to us each week at theoverview@chanmanv.tv. And we'll try our very best to read them out each and every week. We would definitely welcome them, so bring it on. Definitely bring it on. Okay, so let's talk about the game. Well, actually, no, let's talk about our animated short, since that happened first. So we have a new animated short, and it was surprisingly Mei, because I thought it was going to be like Junkrat, Roadhog, the whole Junkertown thing. But then they broke out, the whole Arctic thing on us. So what did you guys think of the short?
I thought it was amazing. Oh god, I didn't even mean to do that.
Nice.
Oh no, I didn't.
Nice.
No, it was great. Phenomenal. We know the high bar of for quality that they've established from the previous shorts, and I think this was, if not just as good as the best that we've seen yet. I personally really enjoyed watching it. And you mentioned the Junkertown thing too. I mean, they're showing that they can do anime, they can do these high production value Pixar-esque shorts. They can even do in-engine shorts as well, which was just as good. I mean, it's also really entertaining and awesome. But I think Mei got some love here, and I've actually been seeing Mei more in ranked games since that came. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, everyone I've seen talking about this and everyone I've talked to about this short absolutely loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, Jake, what do you think?
I liked it. I mean, that's just every short that they do has been consistently really high quality and has really advanced the story and the world of the game. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
For me, it's probably top 3 for me, to be honest. Like, there's, a lot of them have a lot of action and, that whole aspect to it, but there's not actually a lot of, the feels, and all that stuff. There's only like a few that actually have feels, Bastion being obviously one of them.
Bastion comes to mind.
Yeah. And this one was like one of the other ones. There was actually sadness to this one. There hasn't been that much sadness to any of the previous shorts. So I really appreciated that. Had a kind of Passengers feel to it. If you guys have watched that movie, like her being the only person there. But I'm curious to see. I wish they would have gone a little bit further. Like, how does she actually get back into the whole Overwatch thing? Like, surely she's just walking across the entire tundra until she gets there. That's kind of hard to imagine.
It's tough.
I know, just with her robot and her gallon of water or a couple gallons of water or whatever it is. But anyways, good, definitely a great short, and hopefully we'll see one, I guess, at BlizzCon. I guess 2 or 3 months from now it'd be probably the right timing for another short. Okay, well, anyways, another thing too is that the summer event ended, as well as the end of the competitive season 5. So, yeah, any overall feelings on that? Like you guys kind of accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish with this competitive season?
I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to. I played far fewer hours this season than I have any other season. Usually I'm in the 80 to 90 hours range. I think this season I was below 40, just mainly due to travel and work and a lot of different things. But was finally able to edge my toe into GM at the very end. So
nice.
At least I got there. Still will continue to have the eventual goal of getting top 500 one day, but as long as I'm continually getting into GM, I'm pretty happy. So overall, I liked the season. I mean, people complain a lot about dive comp, and it was so dominant in the first part, but towards the end, it was starting to get more and more dynamic, and it's only going to get more and more dynamic with some of the changes that are rolling into season 6. So I'm pretty happy with the season. What about you, Jake?
I hate ranked, and I've always hated ranked. I think since season 2, it's like a inferior format in my eyes, and I just wish they would do a lot of things to change it and improve it. So hopefully season 6 actually brings those changes. It sounds like some of the changes they're proposing are really good and in the right direction. So excited to see how that turns out.
Okay, well, season 6 starts, I think, in tomorrow. I believe. I think there's only a 2 days gap between the end of season 5 and season 6. So definitely check that out, or hop on immediately, get those playset match done, finished. And one thing also about competitive season 5 is that the folks that played Lucio Ball actually got some comp points for that too. So hopefully you guys were able to get placed there and definitely partake in those extra points. But let's talk about today's patch. There's a big patch. This is the patch that had a lot of the previous PTR updates. I know there's just been a bunch of them kind of consecutively now, but the previous ones that involved things like I think the Orisa changes, the Junkrat, obviously the double mine, Roadhogs, healing, and as well as Widowmaker's grappling hook. So that's all out in production right now. So we talked about it last week already, just how we interpreted a lot of these changes. But anything changed in the last week? Like, what are you guys anticipating? Maybe we'll start off with you, Jake, since we talked about it last week. Actually, Ben wasn't here either, right? So we could give both y'all's opinion. Jake, what do you think first, though?
On like the new PTR changes?
Yeah, like Junkrat, the double mine. And
I think the Junkrat buff is I'm really happy about. That character has been really weak for a super long time because Blizzard felt like they couldn't buff a character that was already so strong in low levels. But as a result, the character was completely unplayable and competitive. So I think the buff's a really good thing, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. Ben, what do you think?
I've been playing a bit of PTR, especially to try out the Mercy and Diva changes, which I'm equally excited about. I think that this is a good patch. I mean, a lot of people complain about, especially the Widowmaker buff. A lot of people say Sniper should never be that mobile. But let's face it, like Widow isn't that strong at a super high level at this point in time. I mean, at my level, I'm freaked out about really strong Widows in the high Masters to GM range, because I've had really horrific games where a Widow just dominates the entire thing, and they're going to be even more mobile now. But she could use the buff. Orisa, I think Orisa's going to be insanely strong this season. The fact that her barrier size has been increased by 20%, that was a change that I was not expecting. I was definitely expecting the projectile speed change or some kind of buff to her weapon in some way. But the fact that she's got a double buff in both her ability to do damage and deal with things like tracers buzzing around her, she can actually hit a fast-moving flanker like that now. And she's getting the barrier buff. I think Orisa is going to be viable in so many more situations than she was viable previously. And when she works. I mean, like her shield, her barrier covers most choke points. It's bigger than Reinhardt's shield, and it covers a lot of different chokes. So I think Orisa's instantly going to become way more viable. playing against Junkrat with 2 concussive mines is completely different, because you can't, as a flanker, as a Genji, as a tracer, you don't want to be in that mid range where he can hit you with that mine, like, ever. When I was playing against Junkrats, when I was playing Genji or Tracer on PTR, I found myself really trying to stay further away. So I feel like Junkrat's going to make a lot more space this season for his team and be a much bigger threat, especially against other DPS, but in all scenarios, really. And, Roadhog taking a breather, now being able to move while taking a breather and having the damage reduction, I feel like it just feels like it fits with his character. He's like running around, drinking his health potion, and it just makes him way more survivable. So I'm excited about all of these changes. Yeah, I mean, Jake, you mentioned you're excited for the Junkrat change. What do you think about the rest of them?
I think the Hog change is like good, and then he needs the buff, but I don't think it's going to make him a good character. It's just like he dies slightly slower and he still does nothing. So he's like, why would I pick this character on my team? Like, the survivability increase is nice, but just wasn't what Roadhog ever needed. Survivability, like, the problem on Roadhog is that you're feeding thousands of HP of ult, not that like you're dying necessarily. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it mitigates that a little bit, but you still aren't going to get kills. You still aren't going to be a useful character. I don't see the character being played ever, even with this buff. It's not enough. Orisa could be interesting, but stuff like Junkrat is actually really, really strong against her. And I wonder how much you're going to see like really static team compositions, which is the only thing that Orisa can work with. The Orisa Torb combo is going to get a lot better, though, which is, it's pretty fun, pretty interactive.
You get to watch that one.
Super dynamic.
Yeah. What about Widow? What about the
Widow change? I actually suggested that change a while ago to the devs, that they should decrease grapple cooldown, because it's like she just needed something. Like, she's just like, when the meta was so fast, she just could not keep up with like a dive meta. Yeah. And she still won't keep up with the dive meta. Like, you'll still be able to dive a Widow and destroy her, because for all intents and purposes, the hookshot isn't on, it's not quick enough that you can just constantly escape a character like, Winston, Tracer, Genji that's just always on you and like can move way faster than you. But it gives her like a little bit more survivability, a little bit more freedom.
Yeah, I mean, just in the extra few seconds it takes to kill a Widow, I mean, that's an extra few seconds that you're not doing DPS on somebody else, right? If it's diving her or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see. I definitely welcome at least my level. I welcome people trying the epic headshots with her grappling hooks. So that's going to be fun, killing a lot of flying Widows, or at least more and more of them. Let's see, anything else? The Venom Mine, I think we talked about, just kind of through walls. It's a very, very minor thing. But yeah, so this is out there, guys. We'll see how it changes the meta. I wouldn't be surprised just if we see just a ton of new Junkrats on day one. So let's talk about the PTR patches, though, which was actually originally going to be the big thing that we talk about. It probably still is one of the biggest things that we talk about today. But the PTR patch has some giant changes, particularly to Mercy. So these were a bit shocking, because it's almost like a redesign, and it was hinted in one of the interviews at Gamescom that we would see a pretty big change to Mercy. So there's two of them. There's Mercy and there's Diva, and then there's a small one, Reinhardt. So why don't we talk about, given that I just talked about Mercy, why don't we talk about Mercy first? So Mercy's Resurrect has completely changed, or it's definitely been taken off of her ultimate and moved to a new ability, her E, if you use E for that ability. And you can only resurrect one target at a time. The radius is much smaller. Cooldown is, it's a separate kind of cooldown. And Mercy's not invulnerable too while she resurrects. So it's definitely more of, what I guess people were doing in terms of tempo, rezzing, and things like that in the past. Now she has a brand new ultimate ability called Valkyrie. And this is basically like anything that Mercy does is powered up, like 2 or 3 times. So we're talking her blaster is infinite ammo, faster, more powerful. Her Caduceus staff not only boosts the healing and damage of the target, but it's like chain lightning now. So anything around that target also receives the healing and the damage. It's the range itself too is like super long. Guardian Angel's range is super long. Not only does she have Guardian Angel, she also has the ability to hover, I guess is what they call it, which is free fly, which is crazy. Me and Ben were like, I remember we were talking about just their upgrades, and Ben's like, yeah, it'd be awesome if Mercy could just free fly. And sure enough, they just gave it to her, which is crazy. And then her resurrect cooldown is instantly reset whenever you activate the ultimate. Regeneration, there's no interruption time, so she just regenerates the entire time. So huge changes to Mercy. So I want to get your thoughts on it.
She can res every 10 seconds.
Yeah, she can res a single target every 10 seconds. Yes.
You can actually get off 3 reses really easily in this situation too, because if someone dies and you have your ult, you can res the person, use your ult, res someone else, then 10 seconds later you can res again. You could even theoretically attempt to res 4 times in the course of one ultimate, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah, that is pretty nuts. You are definitely more vulnerable though. I mean, you have to be close to res people now, so it's not like, you know, in the general vicinity. You pretty much have to be right on them to res them. But so definitely a lot different from the standpoint of resurrection, but you know, the days of hide and seek and things like that, thank God, they're probably going to be gone, because that was, you know, the root of many, many complaints, you know, in terms of Mercy and just even design limitations, I think, in terms of what they can make. What's your take on this, Jake?
I'm super happy. I mean, that playstyle with Mercy, like the fact that was the correct playstyle was like really infuriating. It was like just poor game design. Just like why would the game encourage you to sit in a corner and like wait for your teammates to die? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's not what you should be doing. Like, it just makes the game unfun, and also it's really unfun to play against because you're actually playing hide and seek. You're not like ignore their team. I'm gonna go run around the corners of the map until I find the Mercy. Like it's this is a great gameplay mechanic. Right. So I was really, really glad to see this change. I think the ultimate needs some tuning. It's a little too strong right now because your Mercy just can DPS people, and like you actually just stop healing. You just go blast people. Mm-hmm. But they're going to decrease pistol damage, I've heard. So
they better.
I think people are going to be using like the heal and the damage was more. I think the ults are really, really cool. It's a unique transform ult. There's other transform ults in the game, like Genji or Bastion, but they all sort of change what the character does. Like the Dragon Blade is very different than a normal Genji. Mm-hmm. The tank is very different than a normal Bastion in terms of like what you're doing. But this is sort of, you kind of do what Mercy normally does. The pistol is an exception, but if you're actually using the heal or the damage boost, you're just like a better version of normal in a lot of ways. So I think it'll be interesting to see how people exploit that like power up essentially, because I think it's a really open ult. Like you could use it in a ton of different ways. You could, you can survive with it, but you can also go like save allies with it. We talked about the multiple reses. Of course, that'll be a thing, but I think the really interesting thing is going to be like the micro play.
Yeah, she's like a Swiss Army knife. I mean, with her ultimate, because you know, you can make an argument that her ability to heal like a mass amount of people, it's almost like a mini transcendence, right? And her damage boost is kind of like an Orisa boost now too. So, man, I think she fits in a lot of things.
She's like not quite as good as those ultimates, but the fact that she could be whatever she needs to be in the moment, or just a pistol fragger and like chase, like you can run it.
Those videos are awesome.
That could actually be legit. It depends how much they nuke pistol damage. Yeah. But you could genuinely like send your Mercy in after supports or something with this.
But do you nano booster?
She's invulnerable. Maybe we'll see.
Actually,
you already damage people aren't going to be running Ana, so it won't matter. You have to run Lucio still because it's still better. For the non-ult situation, it's still way better. And Lucio is just the best character in the game, so of course you're going to have Lucio. But I think it'll be really cool to see for sure. Like I think there's a ton of creativity and open-endedness, and I think that really good players are going to use this in unique and awesome ways.
Yeah.
Jake, have you had a chance to play PTR much?
Yeah, actually, I've only been playing. I haven't played ranked in like a week. I've only been playing PTR deathmatch.
Nice. Oh,
PTR deathmatch with Mercy.
Yep.
There you go.
I don't like playing. I mean, it's actually really good practice. I just like grind. Like I'll play like 20 wins of Genji and 20 wins of Soldier, and like first to 20 kills 20 times, and then it's like it's a good practice.
Good aim bot practicing or
exactly. It's just like raw aim practice, which is, I think, my biggest weakness as a player. So I think it's important that I do that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. On a personal level, I've been loving this Mercy change. It's actually really exciting when both teams are engaging, and maybe you both have a Mercy, and then they both activate their ultimate. They're flying around. First of all, it looks badass.
The dogfight.
Like, she's got these badass like golden wings. They're flying around dogfighting, rezzing people left and right. Like it just makes the pace of the game more frenetic. Instead of being one big death ball fight, bunch of people die, and comes Mercy res. That's kind of hype to an extent, but it's way less interesting, way less dynamic than Mercy getting quick 2 reses by resing and then ulting and resing again, bringing half the team back in the fight. Then the fight rages on, and both teams end up getting 1 or 2 reses throughout the course of 20 seconds. Mercy flying all around. You know, you can try and dive her. You can try and Genji blade after her, try to get that kill. She's probably still going to get away. I don't know. I think it's a really good change. And think back 6-8 months ago, whenever it was that Blizzard decided to change Lucio. I think this Mercy rework has so many parallels to what they did with Lucio, because it's almost hard to remember how boring Lucio used to be. Your radius was absolutely massive, and your gun did absolutely nothing. So you basically just were a mobile healing and speed station. They decided to make Lucio fun and engaging and more exciting to play and feel more impactful to play, and have a higher skill ceiling, frankly. They're doing the same exact thing for Mercy here, and also to an extent to D.Va. Instead of feeling like you're forced to right click, we haven't talked about D.Va just yet, but instead of feeling like you're forced to use your matrix at all times, you have less matrix, but you have more options. You have more things to think about, more things that you could be doing at any time, and the character is more mobile. So yeah, I think that Blizzard learned a lot from that Lucio rework and is applying a very similar philosophy to these reworks as well. I'm super excited.
Yeah, me too. I think the biggest thing for me with Mercy, and it's good that you bring up the Lucio example too, is that, a lot of these characters that I felt were very necessary for Overwatch in terms of, the lower skilled players and having it be a very accessible character. Mercy was definitely like on the top of the list. Like, she's straightforward, like her abilities are very easy to understand. And, from a standpoint of aiming and stuff, like you don't have to, like it's definitely one of those characters you can play if you're not great at aiming. So I think they've done an awesome job of still keeping her accessible, yet adding skill cap, like a higher skill cap to her. And, the multi-resurrect was always just a fundamental issue that would limit the game, and like what you can make too, and whether Mercy's always going to be played versus not. So taking that away, I think has really opened up just the potential for other characters for them to make or heroes to make in the future too. So super smart decision. I'm glad they came up with a very elegant way of doing this too. And like you guys said, it looks awesome. Even from a spectator standpoint, it's going to be like super flashy to show on the screen whenever Mercy's ultimate.
Let's talk about, if you do chase down the Mercy, that's a big, exciting moment, right? If you're able to actually kill her. Yeah, and she's very killable too. I mean, it's not like she's invulnerable and super hard. So it's going to take a lot of skill just to even kind of get in there, get that res. And you were talking about multi-resing. Well, it's going to take a lot to keep her alive at times too. Let's talk about D.Va though. So you mentioned the change to D.Va, and we talked about it at the end of our episode last week because it was kind of like breaking news. But D.Va confirmed has a new ability called micro missiles, and it's basically like a mini barrage. It's obviously less powerful than like a Pharah barrage, and the missiles are a lot smaller. But it's something that you can do while you're firing, just her fusion cannons, and it's just like extra DPS for D.Va. And then her defense matrix is half, or it depletes twice as quickly now. So half the time that the matrix is going to be up. And then lastly, you can fire the fusion cannon while you're boosting. So while you're moving, while you're flying all over the place, you can shoot. Most notably, things like chasing down a Pharah, maybe you can start shooting too at the same time and things like that. So what do you guys think? Jake, have you gotten a chance to play this on the PTR or play a lot of D.Va?
I haven't played D.Va too much. I just think it's, from a theoretical standpoint, really interesting in that they've really made her a much more aggressively postured hero. Compared to what she was before. My only question is she as good at aggression as other characters, where you might just like stop picking D.Va? I think that's a good thing, because D.Va was really oppressive and like overpicked and like really defined the game. And like you can't nano aim, you can't play Ana because D.Va's just going to matrix things and you can't heal them. But this reduces that. So I think it's a really, really good change in the right direction, and should open up the roster, and you should see more heroes as a result of this change if it goes live.
Again, it's just giving D.Va more options, making her more dynamic. It's yet to be known if this is a buff or a nerf. I think most people think this is definitely a nerf, because her matrix is the reason you chose D.Va in the first place, for the most part. But I think this is really awesome. I mean, she had no ability to do long range damage. Now she does. Her matrix is she has half as much matrix to use. So You're not going to be able to absorb an entire soldier ult. You're not going to be able to outlast a McCree high noon. You're not even going to be able to, protect your supports from a diving tracer like you used to, which I think is one of people's bigger concerns here. Is like, does this just make flanking diving tracers and Genjis and ulting soldiers too powerful? I don't think. I mean, from my perspective, I don't think so. Reese has got a small buff, which is not going to make a huge difference here, but you can still dive those characters. Diva can still be used. Like, instead of just going and absorbing an entire soldier ult, you might be able to go up there and get the kill because you have the rockets now, and you can shoot while you're approaching that soldier. So
yeah,
I like this change a lot. Basically, everything about it is encouraging for me.
I have a feeling too, the Matrix nerf here could be. I mean, you could actually alleviate it some if you're just even more careful with when you use Matrix. You know what I mean? Like, I still think it could be super effective in defending your supports and things like that. It's just, you can't just recklessly use it, like, just not very precisely as you before, just kind of holding it down. So I'll be really curious to see with the really good Diva players if they can be even more precise than before and still make that defense Matrix, maybe 80%. 85% as effective as it was before. So that would still be amazing, in terms of defending your supports and that aspect of it. We'll have to see. But I think we may, instantly start seeing just just how it's going to be affecting once it comes out. So maybe in 2 weeks it's going to be out, I would say, in production, and then we can kind of see immediately what happens. Has there been, I feel like a lot of pro players have been playing on PTR lately. Is that y'all's general feelings? Or no, like,
hopefully, I'm not sure actually.
Jake, I mean, I feel like every time I look at a stream, somebody's playing on PTR.
I don't know. People are scrimming.
It's fun, dude. It's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, anyways, hopefully they're getting a lot of data from that. The last thing that was in the PTR patch is the Reinhardt barrier field. This isn't that big of a deal, but basically, while you're holding primary fire, while you're shielding too, if you do both, you can rotate the camera now. So that's like the first time like a character's ability UI has been able to affect, like a spectating aspect of it. So where does this help exactly, guys? Because I play a lot of Reinhardt.
Quality of life change.
Okay.
I love a change like this because it's like, it's not that there's an obvious problem that they're solving with Reinhardt. It's that this just makes the character feel more intuitive to play, and it's just like classic quality of life change. Like, it's probably a 1% buff to the character or something. It's just meaningless.
Yeah.
But it's going to be more fun to play Reinhardt now, and more. There's going to be more freedom. You could do interesting things like peek corners and stuff. Like, I don't know. There's going to be ways to abuse this, I'm sure. So I think it'll be interesting, not impactful ultimately, but I think I'd love to see 2 changes like this every single patch, and Overwatch will be a really, really insanely good game in like 10 patches.
I think the take-home message here is, yes, Blizzard does read Reddit, and they saw everyone calling for Reinhardt having a rear view mirror in his HUD. And, everyone, I saw people in chat actually earlier today talking about the fact that Zenyatta needs to have health bars for whoever his orb is on, things like that. Like, I agree with Jake. If they can squeeze in quality of life changes like that in these patches, everyone's going to be happy. No one can argue against that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, let's move on. And Jake, I catch up with you, given that lots of things have been happening just with you and your team. And first off, so the team that you were on before LG Evil, just LG in general, is leaving Overwatch and disbanding the team. So, of course, what that means for Jake here is that he's looking for a team, and you kind of announced that on your Twitter, a few days ago, maybe, or late last week. Any thoughts on this? Like, how long did you know that this was going to happen?
I had my suspicions for a while. I didn't think the team was going to make OWL, to be honest. I was like uncertain for a long time. I was like, maybe not. But then from the way like almost every OWL team was looking to build a team rather than to buy a team, it's just like the writing's on the wall. Like maybe the Lunatic Highs and the Enviouses get picked up as a full team, but I didn't suspect that many other teams would, and that's sort of the situation that it is right now, where every OWL org wants to build their own team. That unless they can buy one of the very, very best teams in the world, they're not gonna even look past the very, very top of tier 1. Like, I don't think there's going to be more than like 3 or 4 teams that are full teams going into OWL. I think almost like the majority, if not almost all of the teams, are going to be built teams. So it's just the way it's going to work. All the free agents are going to be chopped up and sold for parts. But it's also a good thing, we get to see some new combinations and change the game up for Overwatch League.
Yeah, this was a topic we touched on, I think, when we had you on the show after Santa Monica. It's just, it was surprising to me, and I think to a lot of people, how well these national teams are playing after not very long time together, after not having a super intense scrim regimen. Not all of these teams, yet they still looked and were performing as if they were as good or better than a lot of the existing orgs and existing teams, which really opened my mind personally to the possibilities of chopping apart every single team and rebuilding from the ground up. It just seems like there's so much potential right now. I mean, look at Cloud9. Like, they pick up Laser Kittens, then drop half the roster, and they're rebuilding on a weekly basis to just try to figure out.
I don't even know what the Cloud9 team is. Yeah, from week to week. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. But it works out for them this week.
Yeah, it definitely worked out for them this week. So there's been a lot of talks about tryouts, now with the teams. That deadline is, I guess the deadline's still like 2 months away, but the deadline is still looming, when they lock down the teams and their rosters. So there's a lot of tryouts going on, and I definitely have seen on your Twitter that you've been trying out for different teams. So I kind of want to see how that's going and how that compares to maybe some of the other folks that have been trying out that have been having maybe a worse time. Like Ajax had that crazy thing going on with him in Boston. So how has your tryout experience been recently?
Mine's been great. I have like a few tryouts. Some teams there's definitely one team I would say that I will 100% accept if they offer me the spot, and then a few others is like backups that I'd be also interested in joining. But it feels good to have like the team that I want to join. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, no leaks.
Can't tell us, of course.
But yeah, as soon as I get it confirmed and it's good with the org, then I'll put the word out. But
things are back on here again.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess you've been having a good. Do you feel like there's a lot of politics going on, or do you think, because I feel like with the Ajax, there was a lot of different things going on there, or is it just been mostly about merit and skill in terms of what you've been experiencing?
I think in my eyes, it's mostly merit and skill, but I would say also that people not liking someone and not wanting to play on a team with someone, it matters. Like, this isn't like you aren't like taking the SAT here to see who gets the highest scores, right? Like, this is we're trying to build a team that actually like functions well together. And if there's personality conflicts on the team, however, whatever BS origins they might have, those personality conflicts matter. And like, as a coach, you should never risk, like, you wouldn't risk putting a personality conflict together on the team. Like, it would just be like, like I could see not wanting to have some try, because you're like, look, if these players know that this, like, no, they're not going to be okay with it, then you're just going to make a decision, these players are that player, and that's how it's going to be. And I think Ajax also, I will say, posting that on Twitter is probably the dumbest thing he could ever do. I don't think he's going to play an OWL now because he posted that, because I would never like trust him with PMs personally, now that I've seen that he posts PMs that are clearly not approved to post to Reddit, like or whatever. Like, I just think that's really, really unprofessional, and like leaves orgs out in a bad spot. So like Huck has to come out and like justify what he's doing. As if I'm an OWL owner, I just look at that and I say, what the hell? Like, that's super unprofessional.
Right. Just don't want to have to deal with stuff like that. Yeah, I totally know where you're coming from. Okay, well, I think you as well as Ajax and others, I know right now are trying out, and there's not that many spots, so it's a highly, highly competitive atmosphere out there right now. I think we'll have to see like just how things turn out, and we'll probably be seeing a lot of announcements here in the coming weeks. But
I really, really wonder how many more teams are going to be added before OWL launches. I certainly hope
couple more.
I hope it's like
a couple more. Yes.
I hope it's at least like 4 to 6 more, like ideally, because there's a lot of talented players in this game. If you look at Korea, if you look at the rest of the world, everything, there are so many good players that it would be a real shame if a huge portion of the like pro or semi-pro community doesn't find a team. That would be sad. So I really hope that we see 4 to 6 more teams in the league at least.
I do too.
The other thing to think about is teams are going to have more than 6 players, so it's a little less crazy than people think. But there will certainly be many players that are quite good that do not have teams. That's just the way it's going to be.
Well, and it's going to be, Contenders is there, right, to try to facilitate, even more depth, for these folks that don't make the Overwatch League. And I guess we'll have to see like how many players will still make that decision to stick with Contenders, and stick with organizations that are still participating in Contenders and trying to make the Overwatch League versus people just give up, right? They just not going to be a pro gamer anymore because of this. And it's a difficult choice. I mean, I don't even know what I would do if I was in that boat where I don't make Overwatch League and I have the choice of trying to stick it out and make it an Overwatch League for the next season or the season after that by jumping on a Contenders. Yeah, so it's a tough spot. I know a lot of different players that have either left the game or haven't, have different opinions on it. But, it's definitely a bit tenuous. It's not, the same type of environment that we've had, in the last year where I feel like, we've complained about lack of events, but at the same time, I mean, look at the number of players that have been supported in the last year, by playing Overwatch. Hopefully, like you said, it's going to be a decent number of players sticking around here. In terms of player and team news, we've got a bunch of things here. A lot of, or at least one big speculation we had last week was LW Blue's roster going to be picked up by some team. Nobody knew if it was Boston or the New York team, and it turns out it is the actual New York team. So Bare Hands is going to be overseeing the team. I don't know if he has the president title or not, but he's going to be looking over obviously the Overwatch team.
President of gaming, please.
President of gaming, exactly. But so if those of you don't know Bare Hands, he's working for Blizzard before Scott Tester. So I think a lot of folks in the competitive community know who Bare Hands is. Pretty interesting move there. What do you guys think of that, Ben?
I mean, I think it's something we're probably going to see more of. The Korean teams and players are scary, man. They're really scary. Obviously, there's talent around the world, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more Korean players, either teams being bought outright or transferring over to combine with other players. I mean, one of the discussion points we had with ZP after the Lunatic High, or actually that wasn't even on the show. Actually, that was think about it.
Careful.
But yeah, I gotta be careful. But
Careful.
ZP felt very strongly that like a full team of 6 coming from Korea isn't going to be able to adapt as well as everyone might think. So we might see them smash together. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep going down the list. Like there's a lot of really, really rich owners who want to win fast off the bat. So I'm not surprised at all to see LW Blue get picked up.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know why you wouldn't take that approach. Just try to get, try to win fast here. But LW Blue, I believe Flower's not going to be part of that though, right? Flower's too young still to participate in Overwatch League. So LW Blue without Flower is not the same LW Blue, just to be frank. It's actually very interesting that they picked up the rest of the team. So we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully, obviously it goes well for those guys over there. Another, I think, a bit of news here is that we were just talking about Cloud9. Cloud9 announced they signed a bunch of people. And just to kind of list out some of the folks here. Whoops. Hold on. While I'm bringing this up, hold on a second. Everything just minimized on me for a second. My bad.
Cloud9 signs.
Yeah,
Sinatra,
there you go.
Fisher,
there you go.
Neptuno,
Thanks.
Space, Silk Thread, and Zoms. Now Zoms is sitting the bench though, right? He's a sub, because I don't think we didn't see him play this weekend.
Yeah, I believe that's true, or
Space
at least
as well, right?
Yeah, he's a substitute. I think it's listed here. Zoms is a substitute, Silk's a substitute, and Nevix is on here too as a sub. So I guess starting, we've got Sinatra, Fisher, Mount Malzasa, Gray, Space, and Neptuno.
Got to give it to Cloud9. They're they're not gonna sit idly. Obviously, they're just gonna keep trying new things.
Yeah. What do you?
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you think of that? Especially Jake.
It's a crazy mix.
Yeah, you as a player too. It's like when a team's just constantly switching players. I mean, job security is an issue,
tryout
right?
process is actually going to get through 37 players. That's all I'm going to say.
37 players. Holy smoke. Okay. Wow. That's a lot of people to definitely try out. So I guess we're thinking that this roster is just kind of temporary for now, right? Or do you think this
Yeah,
is...
this is just a Contenders roster. Like, you know, also Silk Thread is not, like, he's not going pro. Like, he's actually an emergency backup, so it's not like he hasn't like people like Silk Thread's on the team. I mean, sort of, but like he's not going to be like a starter. He's not going to be subbed in when something goes wrong. He's like an actual, like, Jay's computer is broken, so he brings Silk Thread in.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
you know, because he just can't. Not that he's not a good player, but he just can't commit.
Right.
His college and stuff.
So by the end of, I think when October comes around, I expect to see a very different roster from C9. Who knows what it's going to be? It's kind of exciting to see this, you know, this constant change from the roster. But at the same time, I was just the reason I was asking you, Jake, is just like, I mean, as a player, I mean, I wouldn't feel secure at all if I was on the Cloud9 roster right now.
Apparently nobody on any team should feel secure because everything's going to be started from scratch. Maybe. Who knows? That's what it seems like.
I mean, I'm assuming like once you're picked, you know, for the roster that you can at least feel a little secure, you know, just from at least most of the organizations. I just don't know if I would feel the same way, you know, with Cloud9. Maybe until the lock, like literally days before the lock happens, you know, in October, 30th or 31st or whatever it is. Then I think that's the only time I would feel pretty secure. Another thing that happened was the Envision roster. So Numlock was actually listed as a member of the Envision roster. So
and he played.
Yeah, and he played too. Played well too. So
yeah.
I guess this might be a permanent thing. You know, we've definitely seen Christopher play for them too. So they've been trying a few things at that one spot, but looked good to me, man. If this is a tryout, I think it went pretty well.
Feels good for Numlocked and fans of Numlocked because let's be frank, he's been struggling for a long time, hasn't seen a lot of success anytime in recent memory. I mean, I think the most success Numlocked had was probably with Dignitas back in the day, and that wasn't super long lived. So I'm really happy for the guy, and you know, we haven't gotten to our section where we talk about contenders yet, but man, Envision is super hot right now in NA. And like they're the perennial underdogs. No one ever expects them to do well, and then they just keep defying expectations time and time again. So good for Numlocked. Good job.
Yeah, definitely. Another person that's been on the show multiple times and is also looking for a team right now is Mangashu. So Mangashu, it looks like he's still under just contract with Renegades, but he's also looking for a team too. A member of Team Canada also. So, you know, definitely if you're out there looking for a Farah in particular, you know, I think Mangashu is definitely somebody to consider. Another thing, let's see, Uber, just one of our Overwatch casters, one of the, you know, just our favorite Overwatch casters, announced that he's moving to the US to cast the Overwatch League. So, you know, another confirmation of a hire for Overwatch League. So congratulations to Mitch on that. What do you guys think of that?
Awesome.
He does a great job.
His heart just is there. He just bears his heart for everyone to see it. The passion is real for that guy, so he deserves it.
Yeah, and it's amazing because, you know, Mitch has casted many games, you know, like definitely with ESL and things. And, you know, just having this most recent period where, you know, nobody really nabbed him up to do anything. It was just like shocking because he's incredibly talented. So I think we as a community are definitely lucky to have Mitch as one of the main casters for the Overwatch League. Going to be awesome. And especially if Australia does well at World Cup, oh man. See Mitch at his best.
Oh, it's a tough ask. We'll see. They have to play Canada first, so.
True. Lastly, the Overwatch League has required teams to create geolocated brands. So it's something that, you know, you would have assumed would have been in place, but, you know, I think it's confirmed that they are requiring them to have, you know, like a city with a brand, you know, associated with the city. So that's good. I mean, nothing really surprising there. Just more of a just reporting kind of thing. Let's see. Next up, we've got World Cup. So, oh man, did you guys watch this live? I'm sure Jake watched this live, but did you watch this live?
Jake was in chat, actually.
Yes, he was. That's true. Oh God. Okay. So World Cup.
Everyone thinks it's such a bad thing. It's actually the best draw we could get.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess if you look past it, it probably is a pretty good one. So let me bring this up real quick. Where is it? All right, so what I'm talking about with World Cup, by the way, guys, is like at the end of one of the days on Contender, like over the weekend, they did the drawing for the 8-team playoff bracket for BlizzCon, and it was live. They had the ping pong balls and the lotto, just Matt actually controlling the ping pong balls and selecting just the teams randomly, and this is how it turned out. So we've got UK versus Sweden on obviously the left side, Canada versus Australia, China versus France, and then Korea versus the USA. And the way it played out, by the way, guys, if you didn't watch it live, is that every single ball came up. Well, it was literally as like tense and gut-wrenching as you could get for the US team, because the first 4 teams obviously got selected, and they're not like the first 4 teams on the left. It's like one team from each of the matchups were selected individually. So, if you're rooting for your US, or you don't want US to play Korea, as long as US is chosen and Korea is not chosen, right? Like you pretty much have that. Well, of course that didn't happen. So it went literally all the way down to the final pick to see if 50-50 whether Korea and US were going to match up. And sure enough, Korea and US were matched up in the first round. So, lots of obviously QQing and stuff in the chat. But Jake, as a player, how do you feel about playing them first round? You have to play them eventually to win this whole thing. So,
So first things first, the win condition is beating South Korea. Obviously, like when you beat South Korea, you can win the tournament. You don't beat South Korea, you're not going to win the tournament. That's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Beyond that, beating them in the first round is actually easier than beating them in the grand finals by a big margin, because this team responds and iterates better with VODs than any other team in the World Cup. And because of that, the later you play them, the stronger they will be. So beating them in the grand finals will be much, much harder than beating them the first round. If we weren't going to beat them first round, then we weren't going to beat them in the grand finals by a bigger margin. So I think that this is our best chance, in fact, to win. If we beat them, then everyone is scared of us for the rest of the tournament. We consume their heart and gain their power. And then if we lose, we lose. We weren't going to win the tournament anyway.
That's a good perspective, actually. I didn't really think of it like that, but you're absolutely right. I think the time to play them is when they're not, just obviously lathered up too, and just warm also. But like you said, being able to scout people, I think the Korean teams and coaches are the best in the world at doing this. So how are you feeling confidence-wise? Like, you think you can take them?
Yeah, like they're very beatable. Like their biggest advantage is that people are scared of them.
That's what I like to hear. And I'm hoping on the schedule that it's not like the first match of the BlizzCon either. I hope it's like.
I think we'll probably be the 4th match of BlizzCon.
Okay, I got it.
I'm just guessing, but I don't know.
I hope so, because at least we can have.
Also, if you guys want to know how it's going to go, it's going to be UK wins for Sweden, Canada beats Australia, China beats France, South Korea. Obviously, I'm not going to predict my own match. After that, it'll be us or South Korea in the grand finals. It'll be the UK in the grand finals.
All right.
Really?
Oh man, that would be epic.
Man, this UK.
That'd be epic.
I had put so little stock in this UK squad before.
No, UK is going to the grand finals. If UK loses to any of these teams, it's like an embarrassment. They're all much worse than us.
Wow. UK looked
I have a hard
awesome.
time wrapping my mind around this, because even after their stellar performance in Santa Monica, I still feel that Sweden and Canada at least could beat them. But you think it's
Sweden has no chance. Canada has like a weak chance. Canada is weird because like that team should be really good, but they're just not. Like they're not nearly as good as their star power would suggest. So I mean, it's one of those teams where they could get a lot better somehow, and they could like reach their potential or something. But it seems weird that they haven't already done that. Like the game versus Russia was so like weak, they like barely win. Like it's not how you want to be winning a series. It's not like looking good going to BlizzCon, especially with Russia not playing particularly well either. Then you also have like France being in a massive slump right now in the professional scene, where they're losing to teams like Envision. Don't get me wrong, Envision played really well, but like it wasn't Envision that beat Rogue, right? Yes, I mean, Envision definitely played really well, but Rogue is also just kind of falling apart at the seams. If you just watch the way they play, it's not what it used to be.
They're having
even from just a one-sided perspective. So if they can like magically fix that, then they can beat China. But I don't see it happening unless like something radically changes in the next couple months. Which, to be honest, it's unlikely. Like it's possible, unlikely. Same story on Canada. Possible. I mean, Canada's definitely going to beat Australia, right? Like if they lose to Australia, that's really sad.
Yeah.
But,
well, Australia, I think is a lot. Most people will agree that it's the weakest team out of the 8. But the same things that you said about Canada, wouldn't you say the same thing about Sweden?
Maybe. I mean, Sweden. I don't know. Like, I could see it, but I just think the UK is like a strong team, and they also have the star power. Sweden like has the star power, but it doesn't. They just don't seem. I mean, I don't know. Again, like I guess things could also change, but like I'm just going off of where things are right now. There's some time before BlizzCon, so teams can get better, teams can get worse. So but that's just my very early prediction. UK in grand finals, us or South Korea in grand finals. Top 4 is going to be UK, Canada, China, and either us or South Korea.
I would agree with all of this, except I'm less sure about UK versus Sweden. But it should be awesome, guys. And on one hand, I feel like the US versus South Korea could have been the grand finals, so I'm a little bit disappointed. On the other, this is a rematch from last year. USA versus South Korea was by far the most hype match, pretty much of the entirety of BlizzCon at World Cup last year. Regardless of the outcome, I want you guys to imagine the hype that is going on in that room on U.S. soil, USA versus South Korea at BlizzCon. I'm sure they're gonna put it at a later part of the day so the Korean viewers can tune in. At least I hope they do that. I'm imagining 300,000 plus viewers and one of the most insane audiences you've ever seen. Regardless of the outcome, I cannot wait for this match. It's going to be insane.
Yep. Me too. I mean, because I have the exact same sentiments, Ben. Like, I kind of wish it was the grand finals so that we could have this build up, viewership wise, to just an incredible number. But to Jake's point, if we want USA to win, we should want them to play them as early as possible. So maybe you'll pull off, miracle on, I don't know what you call it, miracle on. Well, it's not ice, obviously, but where definitely the USA team beat the Russians in the semifinals. Actually, not even in the finals, right? So we'll have to have something like that here. But I guess last question, Jake, just for you in terms of the team. I mean, I'm assuming you guys were probably all on chat or something together, but what was the reaction from the team itself? I mean, I definitely know you as a confident person and not going to obviously have any fearfulness to it, but what did you sense from your teammates?
A little bit of monk ass, but I think pretty quickly we discussed it, and we were like, no, this is how we win the tournament. Like, playing them in the grand finals would be like extraordinarily difficult with how well this team adapts to like VODs. But the thing is, there's nothing. They've absolutely nothing to do research on for us going into round 1. They're going in completely in the dark, and of course we're going in the dark on them too. But I think we play a lot better in the dark than they do. So I think that because I think. Individual talent-wise, I think we might have an edge, and I think the ability to exploit that as a team is also something we're very good at like adapting on the fly. Whereas I think for their team, they adapt better probably with VODs, but I think on the fly it'll be interesting to see if they can keep up. And that's what we're gambling on to win the whole thing. So.
Okay.
It's definitely going to be a brand new meta by then too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, new Mercy's going to be in, new Diva's going to be in for sure. Who knows? Who knows what else?
Yeah, definitely. All right, definitely exciting times, and then definitely made for a very entertaining stream. Just even the lotto system there, or just the drawing. Let's talk about some Overwatch contenders. Week 2 obviously finished up, and we're kind of in week 3 right now. But here's some results from week 2. Definitely some interesting ones to talk about. So we have Rogue ending up, kind of bouncing back, beating Renegades 3-1. Kongarna beating FNRGFE. So that was definitely a pretty good match there. FaZe taking a game off of Envious. So I think FaZe looked pretty good there. And then Envision and Immortals was kind of like the, I don't know, it's kind of like the match that everybody was waiting to see, which Immortals would come back, after losing the previous week to Envious. And Immortals didn't look that great again. Envision obviously played well, but Immortals still doesn't look like that Immortals that we saw in Season 0, or just, Season 0 and then right after, right? So, any thoughts on, I guess, these matches? Anything stand out to you guys in week 2?
I mean, this Contenders so far seems to be the tournament of underdogs succeeding. Both Kingarna, the fact that Envision and Kingarna are doing so well in NA is a huge surprise to me. I mean, you have teams that have much better brand recognition, that have the players themselves have better brand recognition going down to these teams. And I mean, if you look at Envision, you've got guys like Numlocked joining the team just this week, and they're doing incredibly well. Guys like Zany, for instance, has been around in this scene forever. But when was the last time Zany, whichever squad he was on, was doing super, super well? It's been a super long time. So most of these players haven't seen a ton of success in the past, and they're just now starting to see it. So it's awesome to have that happen here for underdog teams. I think watching Envious was this week in particular was pretty interesting as well. I think it's just very clear that they're on a different level. They were even just kind of messing around.
Yeah, I think they were messing around at times.
Like the Junkrat actually worked out really well for Taimu in the end, but he was even picking Roadhog in that matchup. So I think they were kind of flexing around, trying different things. I will say, Immortals did take a map off them, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Or FaZe did.
Sorry, FaZe. Sorry, that's what I meant. FaZe did take a map off them in the end, so it's not like it was a complete stomp, but it did feel like Envious was just kind of trialing new strategies, testing new things, rather than playing their absolute best strategies. So trying to think what other takeaways. I think that pretty much covers it for me.
I'm interested in seeing how Kingarna does this week, because they've obviously beaten Renegades, and they've beaten FNRGFE now, pretty handily. But those teams, I would say, are two of the weaker teams in the bracket, or at least they've looked like the weaker teams in this top 8. So from here on out, they're going to be, I think, playing obviously teams that are at another level. So if they can do well there, then we should start talking about Kingarna, because they've looked solid up to date. It's just we kind of got to see how they compare to the Envisions now, and the just rogues that are struggling and morals that are struggling. We'll see if they can take care of them too. Jake, how about you? You take anything from this week, or just overall after 2 weeks of Contenders?
And he looks like the best team in NA. Immortals looks like they're crumbling. Too soon to say. It's sort of what I predicted, though, or what I thought was the potential downfall of mixed teams, is that it's going to be really difficult to adapt to new metas, as you have to just re-approach the game in a fundamentally new way.
Yeah.
Like Kariv and Fate had played the dive meta on full Korean teams and had like a really clean sense of what their role was and what their team is expecting of them, because it's the same thing on all the teams. But with the new meta comes new roles, new demands, and I wonder to what extent that the communication barrier hinders people sort of learning those new roles and figuring out how they need to play with their team, doing that in an authentic and dynamic way. So I wonder if that's maybe some of their struggles right now. I don't know. Not privy to their internal workings as a team. Maybe it's something else. But I would say if they don't look a lot better the next in this season of Contenders, I guess by the end, then I would say that's a pretty, you're striking a blow against mixed teams.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys have to remember, Immortals was kind of at their all-time high, previous in Season 0 of Contenders. So this team basically went from the top of NA to suddenly looking like they might be at the bottom. I mean, they're tied for worst place right now in terms of map score with Renegades, which is not a good look. And I was watching I actually went back and tried to rewatch some of the Envision versus Immortals game. I mean, if you look at this Immortals team, they have such incredibly talented players. Agilities is one of the best Genjis in North America.
Blade was,
and he had some incredible plays in this match itself. His Pharah, incredibly strong. Grim Reality, I still think he's one of the best hit scans in North America, if not the entire Western world. Kariv has blown my mind with his Zenyatta, yet they're losing to a team where it doesn't seem like Envision on an individual skill basis has the edge, but Immortals, whether it's communication like Jake mentioned, or just team play or whatever, their individual skill isn't actually resulting in wins.
Yeah, I think the communication is like a really, really great point, because you saw it just even on Kings Row, and just in that particular match, I felt like Immortals was playing better than Envision's, like 60% of the game, but it was just those moments where they had just issues with what I perceived as communications, that they would just let the payload would just keep pushing and keep pushing. And they just ended up losing that map, and it was just like, how did they lose that map, really? Because they had so many notable plays on that map that normally would parlay into just winning the map and being able to solidify that point. But yeah, I mean, I just, there's just a lot of holes in Immortals plays right now. They still have their moments where they have great, just like Agility's making amazing plays, Grim making amazing plays, but it's not consistent enough. Like we all know watching Overwatch, especially Jake, that it's all about just timing of plays sometimes. Jake dying early in one it's very significant push means losing that map, and it's like that right now. And unfortunately, Immortals is getting the shorter end of the stick like more times than not, and we're not used to that. But that's NA. Why don't we talk about EU, which is which we're seeing here, and here's the standings. Let's actually look at the schedule. Last week. Okay, so we had Misfits 4-0ing Cloud9. So Misfits just showing their dominance. I think
that was the old Cloud9 a whole week ago. So
yeah, it was
totally different Cloud9 now.
Yeah, exactly. Which is an upgrade for sure. But Misfits still showing that the changes that they've made, with obviously a new Tracer is still working out super well for them. United still struggling. Giganti, I think is a team on the rise too that we're seeing over in the EU. 1-2-3-4-0 Singularity, and Gamer Origins 3-1's Bazooka Puppies. So anything you guys want to point out on the EU section of Contenders week? Well, actually, this is week 1. Actually, this is not week 2. Let me go to week 2.
United falling off.
Yeah, there we go. There you go. Yeah, that was week 1.
That's a huge
yeah.
surprise.
Yeah.
So United is falling off the way that they are. I mean, this team has been around, or like the core of this team has been around for so long. They've even been playing together for so long, and some of their players did really well in the World Cup. Yeah. So I was hugely surprised by that. One thing I'll say is I won't even sugarcoat it. I'm a Misfits fanboy. I'm a Tavik fanboy. I've been wanting to see this team do well for so long, and they've been consistently disappointing. So to see that they're currently 8-0 right now makes me feel a lot better, especially because they just 4-0'd Team Giganti, which is like a nice little Sweden versus Finland rivalry type thing going on there. They just 4-0'd them, and Giganti had beaten United last week pretty handily as well. So I think that bodes extremely well for Misfits. To me, their addition of Logix obviously is working out for them, making a big difference on the Tracer play. So yeah, Misfits, I think they're my favorite to go out in first in the groups here.
Yeah. And 1-2-3, what do you guys think of 1-2-3 and Gamers Origin? Like, I don't actually know that much about those two teams.
I don't think I actually got a chance to watch the 1-2-3 games myself.
Okay.
Like, I think the thing is, if you look at, like, I don't know, like maybe like the top, like maybe 1-2-3 and Misfits can compete, and like even NA or something, like, much less Korea. But like the rest, like EU just looks weak, honestly. Like it doesn't look like a strong, like there's no, like, there's just a small number of really top teams, and it looks like the other teams are like, who's making more mistakes. Like you're not seeing a super clean play that you are out of like the Envious of the world. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how that parlays into the Overwatch League.
Well, definitely want to be performing well in Contenders, because this is what it's about, right? This is the only place you get to perform outside of, I mean, World Cup's over now until BlizzCon. So Contenders is really the last chance people have outside of just, one-on-one tryouts and things like that for people to showcase how good they can be in a competitive environment. We'll have to see how the next few weeks end up panning out. How many weeks are there now? Okay, there's 6 weeks. Okay, so we still got another month full of Contenders. Definitely tune in and watch that. Overall, the production, I would say, for Contenders was much better this last week than the previous weeks. I think a lot of people were were saying that it was they felt like the production was worse than just even season 0 at times. But I definitely saw a significant improvement in spectating and even the casting and just the overall just everything about production. What did you guys think? Did you guys notice anything? Spectating, I think, was the biggest thing. They went to first person a lot more.
Well, I don't think last week was as bad as certain people.
I mean,
so
sure.
I don't know. I don't think it was like markedly better.
I just hope they stop doing the replays every single fight when they like replay a fucking Winston getting like 1.5 kills. I'm like, oh, I didn't need to see that. Like, I'd rather watch the setup for the next fight. Like, it's not that boring compared to a Winston tasing one guy. Like, some of the replays have been really off the mark in my eyes. Like, they're just like use the replay feature because you have the replay feature. Like, if you don't have a replay that is at all interesting or meaningful, then like don't show it. It's like distracting and complicates the spectator experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. They definitely do have the ability to do some really, really cool things, and we saw that too in season 0. With Pip and now the replayability and things like that. So they're definitely getting into the swing of things too. I think even just some of the combinations of folks that they're using on the desk and casting, they've been trying people out. That's the thing about Contenders. I think everybody has to realize too is that I think with Contenders, not only with players, trying to obviously make the Overwatch League, I think even from a talent standpoint, they're trying people out at different spots too. So kind of take that into account when we're watching this too. But overall, I don't actually think it's as bad as everybody thinks too. I mean, I think it's still entertaining. We still get to see the matches, and I think we still get to see a lot of the plays that are being made. So hopefully those guys continue just improving the just definitely production for Contenders season 2, and we'll see how week 3 ends up. Why don't we go on the topic of the week, guys? So there's been a lot of talk of the reporting system. And Jeff came out even today and just said that the reporting system is a failure, and he kind of goes into a little bit more into that. But the biggest thing was that there was kind of a joke post, right? Or somebody posted that finally one of these huge offenders, right, in terms of being reported, was finally banned, right, permabanned. And what we came to know was that it took like over 2,000 reports for this guy to actually get permabanned. So a lot of people are questioning, like, how many reports do people actually show up, like on their radar? Like, what does it take to actually get somebody, like for a red flag to really signify, when it comes to the reporting system? So a lot of people are wondering about that. So I wanted to talk about just what you guys thought of, the reporting system and maybe what the best way, the lights just went out, or the best
Whatever,
type of reporting system.
Like this.
Yeah, exactly, for Overwatch. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on just the reporting system right now? Do you feel like it's doing anything? Do you feel like you accomplished anything when you report somebody right now, Ben?
Absolutely not. I don't report anyone ever because I don't see any reason to. I always kind of made fun of teammates in ranked games when they say, "Oh, report this guy. He's playing Symmetra on attack." Like, that's not a bannable offense. I don't think this is going to do anything. But the one thing that the one piece of context that I don't have is I haven't played League of Legends ranked. I haven't played Dota 2 ranked. I haven't played CS:GO ranked. I've actually never played a team-based game with a ranked system before. I mean, I've played StarCraft 2, Street Fighter 1v1 games. So this is my first ranked team-based experience. So I don't have any context for what the best possible low priority queue system is, or whatever, however it works. But I was talking to my girlfriend the other week about her annoyances with playing ranked this season and how much better it was in League of Legends and Dota when there is a system for, hey, you get a ton of complaints all the time. You're going to be put in low priority queue. You're going to get banned quicker. There's going to be things like Tribunal. So I haven't seen one of these systems working myself, but after learning a little bit more about it, it's just like, yeah, this should be a top priority. And it sounds like it really is. I mean, people, this is a constant discussion topic on both of the subreddits. People are talking about it all the time. Now we have Blizzard's attention, so it seems like this is definitely a thing that they should prioritize, and I would expect them to come up with some kind of low priority queue system or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know what works. I don't know how you fix this problem. A lot of people have ideas, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. And correction, guys, I said that Jeff said it was. No, Jeff responded to a post that was talking about the reporting system as being a failure. So correction of what I said there. That was definitely something I wasn't meaning to say, but there's definitely a lot of plans, and he kind of spells it out in this post here too. Just kind of, he does say that they probably could do a better job of letting us know, like I think some of these medium and long-term plans that they have, for having to deal with some of these repeat offenders and things like that. But I agree too, like Ben, like I feel like right now they, I feel like the system isn't working because even I'm just not motivated to even use it. It's one thing to like use it and or have people feel like they need to use it and still not acting upon it. But right now, I just think that nobody even bothers. Like, you just kind of accept it, and that just kind of eats at you, eventually as a player of Overwatch. Jake, what do you think of the reporting system right now?
I think it really makes me feel good to report an offense toward player, even though I know that it won't do anything. Makes me feel good. Just tell Blizzard I hate those people and I don't want to play with them. It's just cathartic release for me. I'm about that. So I'm happy that, not that that's still, I don't think it's going to do anything under the new system either, but hey, I understand that like the actual griefers, people who are like intentionally trolling games, not just like picking a bad character, but like actually like jumping off the map or something, or otherwise trolling their teammates. Hope like those people should just be banned, and I think hopefully this will accomplish that.
Yeah, and hopefully the threshold isn't too crazy either, because I don't think it's so bad to have a very low threshold. You know what I mean? Like, if you go overboard, I'd rather them go overboard and ban somebody that does this kind of crap like 30 times instead of 1,000 times. And have them learn immediately from it. Can it be
the fact that you could get 2,000 reports on an account without it being banned is like that? That's kind of
right?
Crazy, right?
That's crazy. Yeah.
They're like, wow, you had 2,000 reports. Maybe we'll give you a week ban. It's like, all right, like that's a start.
But you're at 1,099, guys. You need one more before you actually get a ban. No,
but I will say it's important not to go to the automated system like Dota has.
Yeah.
Because then you have Dota where you have like pros who are just constantly in low priority because like people just report them to like troll them. So that's not like they're doing anything, then they actually just get reported because they're a pro and someone's like, ha, like I've got you now. And then eventually they get in low priority and it's just like terrible. It's like that's pretty bad.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, it does sound like there at least is some human involvement with it. The tribunal. Do you think we'll ever get to a tribunal system? Oh man, that's obviously not the perfect system either, but oh man, I hope
for a jury of your peers.
Oh god, hope we never get there. Yeah. It looks like long-term wise they want to reward good positive behavior. So I'm wondering what that's going to be. Like if you get a plus, if you get a thumbs up for the match, you get some good stuff maybe. I don't know. Let me see. I've never really seen a positive feedback system that's rewarded you. Have you seen a game, Ben, that like rewards you for positive feedback you've gained? Yeah,
no.
Me. Dota tells you how many commends you get on each. You can be commended for friendly or teaching or leadership. There's like 4 commends. And you can show on your profile how many commends you have. And I think that like there's just no reason not to have that, right? Like worst case scenario, it does nothing.
Okay.
So and best case scenario is people are like incentivized to want to be friendly or whatever. Even if they're just getting a number on their profile, it's like people respond to incentives like that. And that's been shown time and time again.
What if you got competitive points from actually?
Like golden weapons from like a million commends. That's a great idea. I think that anything you can do that doesn't like affect gameplay and allows you to commend positive behavior, I think it's just a better system than punishing negative behavior.
I mean, they kind of regret making the golden weapons, a competitive point thing. So maybe if they just change that to a more of a positive feedback type of system where you get points for that, that could be heavily motivating. I think that would motivate a large percentage of the population, the playing population, to try to be on better behavior. You're still gonna get some people, obviously, that just
you can be like, you get like a player icon for like you had like 10 friendly commends and you get a player icon or something. Right? I mean just things like that. It's not no one's experience is worse because that's in the game.
Yeah.
Unless you're like really unfriendly and you're really pissed off, you can't get the player icon, and then it's like you just have some personal problems.
Yeah. All right. Well,
and just to be clear before we move on, this is directly a response from Jeff Kaplan himself, who said, "You make some really good points, and we agree. The reporting and punishment system is currently one of our prime focuses. You will be seeing a developer update about this very soon." When they say very soon, it usually means like 3 days. So I don't know when this is going to come, when they're going to announce anything, but there will be an update here soon. Fear not.
Yep.
Hopefully before, I mean, what if it's implemented before the season 6? Like that would be the ideal scenario.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Even sooner would be even better, but we'll have to see. Let's do some Q&A, guys. We've got a few folks that emailed us in. Daniel C. starts us off. He has, my question is about the new Mercy ult. Do you think there will be a standard way pros use Valkyrie? For instance, using it to initiate like a Zen ult, or maybe just popping Valkyrie mid-fight to res a couple teammates. Curious to see what you guys think. We talked a little bit about this, at least with the multi-res possibilities, but Jay, can you see any other additional plays that you might...
I mean, it seems like the question's asking if there'll be like a really obvious way you use it, like some other ults. It's like Dragon Blade. The enemy use cooldowns, and you're going to clean up a lot of weak players and get dash resets. Like, there's like a consistent theme. No matter what you're doing, you're probably doing that with the ultimate. But I think Valkyrie is one of the most free-form and like non preset ultimates that you can use. Like, there's so many options. You could go into it healing, but it lasts for 20 seconds. You might whip out your pistol and go finish off some supports. Like, who knows what could happen. So I think the Valkyrie is going to be really, really fun to watch, because I don't think it's going to be that predictable.
I do think, though, that you're going to want to be using it to reset your res. So in almost every case, you're going to res first. I mean, that's really, really, really obvious, but you're going to res first whenever you can. So I think it's still going to be a thing where you like engage. I could still see a scenario where I know they wanted to kind of stop this from happening, but I can still see a scenario where it's like, all right, get aggressive, somebody go die, and then we can, like, if we get a kill, great. If we don't, I can just res you right back up. So I think at very least that's kind of one aspect that we'll see be fairly consistent, is using it to reset the res cooldown.
I guess maybe a better question is like, how do you see the healing and the damage boosting beams, and just the how the effect is more for a ball of heroes versus like a dive comp or so? Like, maybe how do you see like compositions like that or engagements like that happening? Because you do talk about like a res initiating the thing, Ben, but isn't there a situation where you'd want to just initiate just being boosted, and just going in like super, just with a ton of damage boost and things like that?
I could see the potential of like an initiation on dive, and you just like damage boost the Winston, and then you're like Tracer, Lucio, and Diva are all also getting the damage boost, and then
that's true.
Turns into a ton of damage.
Exactly.
And then like your Mercy's impossible to kill, so like you could just blow it early and not worry about the reses, or just like have a 10-second res cooldown and look for 2 reses. So I don't think you're always going to look for like wait for a double res and then you pop the ultimate, because sometimes a double res turns into 4 dead players and then you just lose. Right. So I think the character is going to be more proactive than reactive. Like, the past Mercy has been almost entirely reactive. Like, you obviously can't use Resurrect until people are dead, so it's like literally an unusable ultimate until something happens.
Right.
But I don't think that's the case with the new Mercy. I think you might be doing that. And a lot of situations, if you can make that play intentionally too, you could send like maybe like Winston and Tracer in, or Winston and Pharah, and they just go super aggressive, burn one target, and then you go like double res and then follow up from there. Like that, I think there's a lot of interesting plays you could do to like intentionally not go for a 5-man res like you used to, but go for like a 2-man res with the ult. So I think there's gonna be a ton of room for different plays.
Mercy's following Winston's and following Genji's like out and dive, man. It's gonna be definitely a new world here. Okay, Kyle W has a question. What kind of new heroes do you guys think Overwatch needs? I've been seeing a lot of people on Reddit who want new supports because options are limited. I'm not sure what kinds of unique support abilities haven't already been used. I think the same could be said about tanks. With DPS heroes, there still remains a lot of possibilities with Doomfist opening up the door with melee-based heroes. But basically just wants to know, is there any type of mechanic or ability that you guys would like to see? And, should it be support? Should it be tank? Like, what do you guys think?
More movement abilities. Give me a support that gives jetpacks. I want jetpacks on every character.
I'm totally with you on that.
On every
Dude, Overwatch
character?
already has 2/3 of the characters have jetpacks. All the good characters have jetpacks. This is not a coincidence. More jetpacks, better game.
It's called anti-gravity. Anti-gravity mode.
Let's just go play Lawbreakers, guys.
Oh god.
We got Winston, we got Diva, Farah. Dude, we just need Reinhardt as a jetpack. There's so many jetpacks.
Oh god, Reinhardt has a jetpack.
Yeah, dude.
That'd be crazy.
I think there's we've talked about this on the show plenty of times. I think there's room for more area of effect, maybe not even area of effect, but just status changing abilities. Like I think someone in chat said something, I don't know, maybe that's where I got the idea, but for instance, just like spraying like a cloud that like gives everyone in that area like more defense or something like that. There's all kinds of opportunities to have not completely standard just healing aspects of support.
Just put Venomancer in the game.
How
but I will say one thing that I wanted from a support character was the ability to have a res on a cooldown instead of being the ultimate. So now we have that with Mercy. I'm going to just give myself a little bit of credit for that because this is something we talked about in the show before.
Yeah,
I'm glad we're getting it.
Yeah.
I would say one thing I really want to see more of, and I'm really happy to see in the Mercy rework, is a long cooldown. 30 seconds is by far the longest cooldown in the game.
Yeah.
You look at Dota, you have cooldowns like, Metamorphosis. Maybe it's not called Metamorphosis. I can't remember. Whatever. The Terrorblade, spell where he turns into a rage character. It's like 140-second cooldown ability, just basic ability. And I think you can have a lot more of those in a game like Overwatch to make the game really interesting. Like, they use res and you're like, we have 30 seconds. If you know she doesn't have Valkyrie, you're like, we have 30 seconds to make a play. And that's like introduces this exciting timing window thing, which is not really existent in Overwatch right now. I mean, timing windows are just based on how much damage your opponent has dealt. So if they like do more or heal more, then that timing window is smaller and you can't control that or really measure it. Not accurately at least. Yeah. So, having a time window that you can accurately measure, like the Mercy res, is really, really interesting because I think it opens up a lot of better opportunities for counterplay. Like, you get the Mercy and she had res with she had you go aggressively on a pick because Mercy has 5 seconds on her res cooldown and then you follow up on her and she can't get the res off. And it's like a clutch play in the last second, right? Like more stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's
good. Yeah, I'm being told Metamorphosis is correct. Yeah, so I like cooldowns like Metamorphosis. I think they make the game more interesting. I think I would like to see even like DPS characters with like a sort of Metamorphosis-esque spell, like where they become more powerful, but for a short duration and it's on a long cooldown that you can play around.
Right.
I think longer cooldowns are cool because they let you make more powerful abilities.
All right.
What about like a 300 HP healer? Like, why not? Why not? Let's try different things. Let's like break out of the norms.
More healers, yeah. The number one thing is just more healers.
Healer tank. I don't care. Let's experiment.
More healing. Yeah. Like the Lucio is so just completely overpowered. I mean, Lucio is the most overpowered character in the game. It's not like you wouldn't think that, but any character with like a 99% pick rate for the last 10 patches is overpowered because it's by far it's clearly the best character in the game. You always want it in every situation. It's always better than the other options. That is the hallmarks of being OP. It's just like the game impact isn't so oppressive or it doesn't seem that way. But like try playing COD without a Lucio, like you just lose. Like you don't get the bid, you lose. It's game over. Like you actually can't play without Lucio. It's so bad. And I think that is kind of unhealthy for the game. I wish there were just more choices to achieve similar effects.
Yeah.
Like jetpacks.
Like jetpacks, cool. Okay, well, I think that's all the time that we have. If we didn't get to your question, be sure to resend it to the overview at ChanManV.tv if you want to try to get it in next week. But I'm going to wrap up now. Before we do, I just want to remind everybody that you can find the show on iTunes and all the different audio channels too. It's not just on Twitch, not just on YouTube. So if you got iTunes, you got Google Play, SoundCloud, you can listen to us on the way to work or where you're working out, whatever you want to do. Just look up the overview or look up Overwatch and you'll find us there. And if you like the show, leave us a nice review, 5-star review, and it helps people find it whenever they're trying to search for Overwatch podcasts. But going to wrap up, definitely a great show. Jake, thanks for hanging out with us again and giving us all that insight that you're always very, very good at. Any shout outs you want to do? Where can people find you?
Shout out to my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Jake_Overwatch. My Twitter, which is also /Jake_Overwatch or @Jake_Overwatch. Beyond that, you can check my blog out at mindgames.blog.
Oh yeah, he's got some good
semi
ones.
regularly. Just interesting. Some of the design analysis. The last post was more socially focused. So I think it's a cool platform for me to sort of explore what I want to talk about in terms of anything about video games, Overwatch scene. So check that out if you're interested in learning more. Beyond that, man, just keep your eye on the Twitter feed, baby. I'm hoping to get signed real soon. So. Hopefully
we'll talk about it on the show next week.
Yeah, I'm sure the announcement's coming soon. Exactly. Ben, how about you, man? Shout outs.
It's a great week in Contenders. Some good matches to go watch. Go watch Taimu playing Junkrat. I love that his passion is back. He's so
having
good
fun,
to see.
Man. He's having a lot
actually, viewership was pretty good too. Much better this week than last week. Like much better. Mm-hmm. I think it was almost 30K viewers, so that's encouraging as well. Plenty more to watch. Apex, we got more Contenders, and then we'll see you at BlizzCon. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Also, that's it for me.
All right, and for me, thank you, obviously, to both of you guys for doing the show. Everybody for watching. I have to talk to you about it, Ben. But we probably can't do this show on Tuesday next week. We'll probably maybe move it to later next week because we're going to PAX. Actually, both of us will be at PAX, and tune in to Streamer Showdown Overwatch Edition on Monday. At PAX live on the Twitch stage. You'll probably catch it on twitch.tv/Twitch, I believe. I'll definitely tweet out what time it's going to be at.
That's correct.
If you enjoyed the ones that we did in the past, we're going to be doing another one live on the stage. And it's always a lot of fun doing it live on the stage, and it's got a different dynamic when everybody's in the same room having a good time. But you can find the VODs for the show, this particular episode, on youtube.com/ChanManV. Obviously, follow this channel if you definitely enjoy this content. And you can follow us all on Twitter, also at ChanManV, at Fishstix, at Jake_Overwatch. And the show is at the OverView GG. But that's going to be it, guys, for the overview this week. So for Jake, Fishstix, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.